Good evening, namaskar, and in the words of my favorite host, welcome, welcome, welcome. Once again, this is Peter Abraham, and I welcome you all to FTS number 3.0. Before we start today's final table, let me give you a quick update on who's ruling the series leaderboard right now and getting closer to that top 10 finish. And of course, 10 lakhs up top for the winner of that FTS leaderboard, which is up for grabs. And let's take a look at the series leaderboard as it stands right now. Leading the pack is a familiar name in Shashank Desai, who plays as Reconnecting. He's got 2,972 points on that FTS leaderboard. Grinding away, he hasn't won any of the marquee event titles yet, but certainly doing well enough to put himself on top of the leaderboard right now. Followed by Anmol Agarwal, playing as Bull Slayer with 2,644 points. And in the top three, Abhijit Kumar playing as the Supreme One with 2,569 points. Next up is Vinay Rajpal, who's playing with the ID Beep Beep Amajeep, and he's got also 2,518 points. Mithun Mahesh playing as Zima Blue. We've seen him on a couple of these final tables here in the live stream. He's got 2,503 points. And then we have Ashish Kumar playing as Notorious Convict 1 with 2,447 points. Bhanu Prakash, a very, very, very consistent player on these leaderboards, playing as Spectre, of course, is Bhanu Prakash, and he's got 2,327 in points, and he's followed by Arjanveer Singh Chadda, who plays as Bazinga with 2,301 points. Last two on the list, Suraj Todi playing as Got No Change 31 with 2,175 points. And last but certainly not the least, M. Balakrishnan as La Chance playing with 2,054 points. So there's your top 10 on the FTS leaderboard. And I'm sure today's tournament will see a lot more players getting more points on that particular leaderboard. 10 lakhs up top, remember, that's a lot of additional prize money to play for, aside from all of the goodies that these players are going to get. But now it's time to focus on today's a big final table, and appropriately enough, it's the big game final table with a guarantee of 80 lakh rupees. And this tournament had a buy-in of 16,500, and we had 460 players registering for this event. And the last man standing on this final table is going to take home 15.5 lakh rupees. And of course, a fantastic 18 karat gold medallion and some fantastic goodies along with that going the way of the winner. Now, let's take a look at the payouts once again. 15.59 lakhs up top for the winner, followed by 9.9 lakhs. Then you've got second runner-up taking home 7.42 lakhs. Fourth place, 6 lakhs. Fifth place, 4.73 lakhs. Sixth gets 3.61 lakhs. Seventh, 2.65 lakhs. And last but not the least, min payday assured for all of these players is 1.95 lakhs, I beg your pardon. Before the final table starts, let's invite today's commentators who are going to be with me to analyze all the action taking place at this final table for you viewers. Our first commentator for this broadcast is an international pro who's very well known now with the Indian audiences because of, well, not just the time he spent with us on the live stream, but he's also played in various leagues here as well. I'm talking about of course, Kevin McPhee. And this two-time WSOP bracelet winner is well known both in the international and Indian poker circuits, like I mentioned. So let's welcome Kevin onto this broadcast. Kevin, good to have you here.
Thanks for having me. Glad to be back for another final table. This one should be pretty exciting. This is a higher buy-in one. And I think we're going to see some pretty quick action again with a lot of sub-20 big blind stacks. So it should be really fun final table to watch.
What Kevin actually means, besides exciting, is also that this table should give us some more play to do commentary on, because it's been fairly quick fire in the last couple of streams that we've had, although yesterday was a bit longer than the one he came in for the first time around. And along with Kevin, we've got Sam Razavi, of course, Poker Pro, who was crowned as the Player of the Year at the Asian Poker Tour 4 consecutive years in a row. And he's cashed in more than 200 live tournaments. And well, the script says that he's also the lover boy of our FTS medallion. I think Sam has his eye on all the medallions that Spartan Poker is giving away. Welcome to the broadcast, Sam.
Hey, how's it going? You okay?
All good, Sam, all good.
Yeah, I've been missing the missing the commentary duties. I watched from the sidelines yesterday. It was it's another great final table, and as Kevin said, should be some more action today on this table, given the stack sizes and the higher buy-in. But yeah, we'll see if we can last over the hour mark.
Well, Sam says that he wasn't there for the tournament live stream yesterday. He wasn't, but he was very present with his trolling in the comment section. So hopefully he's going to do that live in front of all of you all today as well, rather than just the comments. But those are the two gentlemen who are going to join me now for the live stream as the action is all set to take place very, very shortly. We also have Richie Haridasoam also joining us a little bit later in this broadcast. So we will bring him in due course. But now let's take a look at the final 8 on this table of the big game. Starting the top of the chip counts is Amit Gehani playing as Kavipri. He's a familiar name because this 41-year-old won the IOPC Legends for 30 lakh rupees back in July 2021. And he's made a substantial dent into his bankroll by firing 5 bullets in this tournament. But it's all paid off well for him because he's now at the top of the chip counts with 2.5 million. That's 51 big blinds. Next up, another name that we've seen in the live stream in the last couple of days, it's Dinoy. That's Arun Kumar Singh, who's playing as Dinoy, and he's got a little over 2 million in chips, which roughly translates to about 41 big blinds. Next up is the Supreme One, and that's Abhijit Kumar playing as the Supreme One. We saw his name in the FTS leaderboard not too long ago, and Abhijit has been doing really well for himself. He's got 1.6 crores in cashes online. He's an IOPC winner at Spartan, of course, the ATOC leaderboard winner on Adda 52 as well. So lots of experience with Abhijit Kumar. 1.6 million in chips is what he's got, which is about 32 big blinds. That's the top 3. And getting into the rest of the stacks, we've got Aman Kumar Sharma playing as Car AK or Karak. I'm not sure how it's called, but I'm going to stick with Car AK for Aman Kumar Sharma. And he's got 1.5 million in chips. Not a lot known about this player at the moment, but that roughly translates to 31 big blinds that he's got. Vinayak Bajaj comes up next with another cool nickname in Hai Garmi. This 28-year-old cashed in the WSOP main event in August 2020. And he also finished 3rd in the Millionaire United at Spartan Poker in May 2020 for a sum of 9.37 lakhs. 858,000 in chips is what Vinayak has. That's 17 big blinds. Next up, we've got someone from the Game of Thrones cast. That's Aron Sridhara playing as Vazar Margolis. And this 38-year-old, he has shipped 14 MTTs in 2020 across various sites with cashes coming up to just under 1 crore. And he was top ranked in India for the month of July across various tournament results that he's had. 823,000 in chips for him, 16 big blinds that is. And a similar stack is also what Vishnu Khandelwal holds, playing as Violator. And Vishnu won the NPS Sunday Marathon on Pokerbazi for a little under 8 lakh rupees back in June. And like I mentioned, he's also got a 16 big blind stack, so a little over 800,000 for him as well. Last but not the least is a very, very familiar name, Lucky Bhai. That's Lakshman Singh, who is a 26-year-old player, lots of titles and lots of deep finishes for this young player. He won the IOPC main event on Spartan Poker in Jan 2021 for 51 lakh rupees. And of course, even featured on the cover of Gutshot magazine not too long ago. He's the short stack, 15 big blinds for him, 747,000 in chips. And there's your final 8 for this big game at the FTS 3.0. Now, let's take a look at all of those stacks once again in collective view. Not a lot of difference, typically speaking, with these stacks, not the kind of gaps that we've been seeing over the last couple of tournaments, but that should make this big game final table even more interesting. And to make things even more interesting for our viewers, let's bring you a contest question. So here's the contest question that we've got, and we're still with the theme of non-poker stuff. It's all IQ and poker, non-poker riddles that we're going to be firing at you. Now, poker needs calculations, and the first question is about quick calculations. So here it comes. How many days are there in 4 years? That's right. How many days are there in 4 years? If you are ready with your calculations, then type in your answer on this live stream along with your Spartan Poker ID. And if you are one of the 5 lucky winners, then you can get a ticket to the Flight 1H of the Feast tournament to be played on the 17th of September at 4 p.m. Remember the Feast tournament, a 1 crore guaranteed event with 2,200 rupees. There are daily flights happening at 4 p.m. And if you get the answer right and you're one of the winners, then you can get into this tournament for absolutely free. Well, at least the daily flight for absolutely free. And it's time for us to get into the action. I believe we are ready to get the cards into the air. Let's go onto the table and catch the final table of this big game. Well, an ace queen right off the bat. So decent hands to begin the action with.
Yeah, we're coming in at 50K big blind. So a lot of these stacks, 17, 16, 16, 15 big blinds. That's going to be the storyline here at the beginning of the final tables. Who's going to step up and try to move up the leaderboard, and who's going to try to just ladder and watch some people get busted out. So ace queen's going to be easy open here on the button. We're definitely going to see a defend out of the king 10. King 10 suited, such a pretty hand.
Oh, so.
Well, we are bringing you this broadcast right next to a train station, so don't be surprised at some of those sounds that you hear. Well, Kavipri certainly likes that king 10, making the call.
The next train to Bad Beat Central departs at 11:14 p.m. Please mind the gap between the platform and the train.
That's right, folks. When he's not playing poker and handling his catering business, Sam Razavi is also helping out the transport authorities in the local neck of the woods. And nice turn card there for Kavipri.
Yeah, we didn't see a C bet on the flop here from the ace high. I think I would have liked to see a continuation bet there. Otherwise, you're just kind of stuck in the dark and allowing your big blind opponent to realize all their equity there. So we do see the king 10 turn top pair, just betting small.
Yeah, I was a little surprised at that move by Denoy. You would have thought that with ace queen, he'd get at least a little bit in there.
Well, yeah, in 7-6 deuce, you got to assume there's a lot of bad 7s, 6s, and deuces that a big blind is folding. So very unlikely to hit that flop. But we see him check back the ace high, playing conservative, protecting that chip stack, and making the correct decision to fold on the river as well.
I see everyone likes these suited connectors a lot. Queen, jack of spades for Vazar Morgolis, and gets it up there. Double the big blind. We should see some more action. And there it is from Car AK.
Yeah, I think these queen jack suited are so pretty and so tempting to play, but given the stack size, it's, I think, and from that position, I mean, a bit of discipline sometimes. We'll just let it go, maybe.
Yeah, I'd be a little surprised if he makes this call.
Certainly a tough spot with the queen jack suited. I mean, I could see all options being available. Maybe throw in a limp, open fold, jam, and jam seems a little overly optimistic. So I think just V-pipping this hand for min raise is somewhat reasonable. It's just going to be really tough to call 3-bet here. Yeah, we do see him lay it down.
and promptly gets rewarded with a nicer hand than what he had before. And he should get some action with those pocket fives from Violator. Violator, of course, Vishnu Khandelwal and Arun Sridhara playing as Vazar Margolis, and sure enough, gets it in.
It's going to be hard to call off, though, now, I guess. I mean, Kevin, you're about to say something, I think. But...
Well, I was just saying the blinds went up, so the 7 million went from 14 big blinds to under 12. So the ace jack's going to be a pretty easy shove. Gonna be kind of pretty tough spot here with the fives. I don't really like calling off here with the ICM considerations. The under the gun jammer has to be so tight, and yeah, we do see the fives lay it down to the basically 12 big blind shove, and I think that's probably correct. Ooh, aces for our chip leader.
That's right. Amit Gehani playing as Kavipri, picking up those bullets. He'll be fervently hoping that there's someone who puts out a bet. And there it is. Arun Kumar Singh playing as Denoy, putting out that bet of 1.2 lakhs.
It's kind of an interesting spot here. I think that you could flat a fair amount of the time, just with how short everybody is.
Mm-hmm.
I do see a small 3-bet instead, which is going to price Denoy in here. And not a great spot for the ace-8 suited, to say the least. Wow, and he just folds to the min 3-bet.
Wow. Boy, Kavipri must be really kicking himself. I don't think he could have bet any smaller than that, and still no joy.
Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't, I don't think I'd fold that even if I was showing the aces pre-flop for an extra big. I don't know.
What do you think about maybe flatting the aces there? I mean, they're just quite a few short stacks behind, and if they have anything reasonable, they might want to just stuff it in with a bunch of dead money. So kind of think flatting there would be.
Yeah, I think definitely particularly given, like you said, the stacks behind, because you have that added thing of if one of those stacks decide to shove, with all the dead money in there, Denoy has certainly can sort of isolate, rip it in as well, and yeah, you have that added bonus.
Both players got a little piece of this one. Denoy opening the ace-queen, pretty good hand from early position. Supreme One defending the king-6 suited, flopping a pair and a backdoor flush draw and just folding to 1-bet. I think if you're going to defend that hand, you probably should just call a bet, but it's so hard to check call and realize your equity. You just get bluffed off your hand so often at these final tables. So taking a very conservative approach, but I don't know. When I have backdoor clubs there, I think I'd like to peel one off.
Yeah, I think I'd definitely not fold him, on the flop, just because there's an ace there. I mean, if you're calling with that hand free, I mean, what you do becomes king high as well. Is it? I don't know.
Yeah, it just seems like a board that Denoy would always see bet. Just against the big blind defend, ace high, ace king board. C-bet frequency is going to be super high there. So he's going to be betting a bunch of under pairs, just whether or not you feel like he's going to shut down on the turn. If you feel like he's just always going to fire again, then I guess I could see point to folding. Your chips are worth quite a bit, and Supreme One has pretty good position with all these short stacks surrounding him. So just being a little conservative there and folding the second pair, and it was a good fold. Denoy had the top pair, so.
Yeah, I think we should
see the Supreme One getting in here. Yeah. think we'll at least see a call here from the ace-7. Could see him doing something a little creative. Certainly wouldn't be out of the norm for these final tables, but does elect to just, again, play conservative. I mean, with these 4 short stacks, Denoy and Supreme One kind of have to be, punished for the check back.
Boy.
Yeah, that's...
Poker gods giveth, and the poker gods take it away. And that's the turn card for you. Just shifted the momentum.
And I'm not too sure about the lead there, you know.
Yeah, I don't like the check back very much. I think I just want to c-bet when I have a strong hand, strong top pair like that, and just try to win the pot, you know, and get some value. I mean, you disguise the strength of your hand, but then you just fold when the ace comes on the turn. You'll be firing a lot of things there. But also, yeah, I think I agree. That's kind of a strange bet on the turn. I just don't really see how you're getting called by anything. You kind of should have the deck sort of killed. Yeah. You would think the button would fire an ace if they had some bluffs. So I think that a7 plays much better as a bluff catcher.
Well, Denoy is certainly keeping us on our toes with some very interesting plays from him. That's not a half bad flop either.
Yeah, it's kind of an annoying flop to peel off of the king jack. No back doors or anything as well. But yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely something that I was paying attention to yesterday in the final table, is how different players approach spots when it folds to them in the small blind. You know, there can be a limping strategy, but it seems like most of the players have been electing to just raise it up with a pretty wide range of hands. I mean, we saw some Jack-6 offsuit getting in there yesterday, and Denoy today with the 8-9 off. I think that's a pretty good limping hand, kind of coordinated connecting cards like Jack-10 and 8-9, I think make really good limps. And it's just it's so tough to play out of position in a raised pot with those things. You're basically just hoping your opponent will fold, and you know, they just have position on you, so they're not going to be folding all that much.
No.
Definitely one thing I want to pay attention to today is seeing, as the chips move around, we get a little deeper stack and we get into 4- and 3-handed play, like how these different players are approaching the small blind, because it's really where a lot of the chips get handed back and forth in tournaments.
Yeah, I think that there was even the deuce 5 was introduced into the blind on blind situation yesterday, and this looks like it's going to be quite a cooler hand, blind on blind, given that Lucky has under 10 bigs, and in the absence of Denoy opening this hand.
Well, it seems like Denoy's been getting after it, though. I mean, he could open this, considering how he's been playing. I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah, I think he probably will.
Wow. Disciplined fold. I actually like that fold quite a bit. He's been playing pretty aggressively so far, so kind of aware that his image isn't the greatest for opening an ace rag. And I think we're just going to see this get in. You raise and jam and a call. Don't see how you're supposed to fold suited ace to a 10 big blind stack once you've already put 3 bigs in. So a good spot here for the pocket jacks.
Hey, the jacks hold. It's always bad news when you get pocket jacks, and Lucky Bhai picking up that pot there with his pocket jacks.
Yeah, nice double up, and it's gonna not be the greatest thing for the shorter stacks here. I don't think they'll be very pleased with that. They kind of want to have somebody bust out and having somebody go up from 10 big blinds to 20 big blinds really puts the pressure on Violator and Vazar Morghal. Is that how we say it?
Morghulis.
That's from Game of Thrones.
Yes, I think.
Morghulis.
I mean, it's Valar Morghulis is what the phrase is. I'm not sure if I've missed out on my GOT language lessons, so maybe that's also another phrase.
Yeah, I was a bit embarrassed when Peter was like, "Oh, someone from Game of Thrones," and I thought, I've not seen an episode of Game of Thrones. I couldn't even guess which username you're referring
really,
to.
Sam? That shows right up your alley, I would think.
Wow, yeah. I'm shocked. You look like an extra in Game of Thrones, to be honest.
Winter is coming, my lord. I only know that line because my brother's always...
Oh, yeah, you could pull off Jon Snow, no problem.
Well, only on a Sunday. Yeah, I think my wife's watched most of it and she's tried to get me involved, but I don't know why. It's just one of those things I just couldn't.
Yeah, it always seems to happen, right? When the rest of the world is like, you've got to, and then there's just something inside which you're like, maybe no,
and then
I'm not sure.
Yeah, and after it reaches a certain point, I'm one of those people when it comes to series that I just, once I start, I have to watch the whole thing in like a day or two or whatever. And then once it gets past a certain point, I know that if I start watching Game of Thrones, I'm stuck indoors for the next however long it takes to catch up and watch the whole thing. So, yeah.
It might take you more than a couple of days, I think, Sam. It's a fairly long show, and they're all like 1 hour episodes and stuff. So I think, Violator, and there's quite a few of Violators on that show too. This time around, putting his stack into the middle. And I don't think Kavipri is going to mess about, but I've been told that we've got Richie Haridaswamy on the ready there, and I think that's a good time for him. I mean, it's been 17 minutes or so since we've started this final table, and no one's been knocked out, so I think I'm going to head back there and just see if I can locate the Doom switch. So it's my pleasure to welcome Richard Haridaswamy onto the broadcast. Richie, welcome. It's good to have you here, man.
Thank you, Peter. Thanks a lot. I'm excited to get on the train. That's my only train joke, I promise.
Feel free, my friend. Feel free. Well, I'll see you guys in a bit.
Thanks, Peter. Quite a nice change of pace this final table. All 8 players still here. Last time when I came on, there were already a couple of eliminations. But quite a star-studded table. I was looking at the lineup. Most of these guys have won really big tournaments. Kavipri, of course, winning last tournaments. Lucky Bhai was the main event winner last time around, and unfortunately I was commentating at that time. But also the interesting thing is the Spartan people were telling me, Sam, you were supposed to do a hook step on Hai Garmi, the song, which you haven't done yet.
I was hoping you would mention it because I was sort of leaving it as a surprise. I have started filming it. I was actually talking to Kevin before we started the stream, and he was mentioning the cenotes here, which is like sort of underground caves where you can go and swim and whatnot. And we've taken a couple of fun shots there, and I'm hoping before the end of the series that the final product will be out there.
That's awesome. We definitely can't wait. But again, a question I want to throw out to you guys is, when you come on a table as maybe someone who's not as accomplished, and you're playing against players who've obviously been there. We have a couple of IOPC winners, a millionaire winner. We have Supreme One, who's third on the leaderboard. How do you sort of approach this table as someone who's not as accomplished, somebody probably starting out, or not as experienced as the others? What kind of mindset or what kind of a strategy would you sort of advise the newer players to take at such a table?
Well, I mean, I would say just don't get intimidated. Just because somebody's very accomplished, they're still bound by the same rules as everybody else. They still get hands at the same pace, and they might play them a little bit better, but just focus on your own game focus on your decisions, which you can control, and just, try to navigate the table the best you can. It can get intimidating sometimes when you're at a star-studded final table and all these players are super accomplished, but it doesn't take away from the task at hand, and that is your job is to make good decisions. So as long as you're just focusing on the cards, focusing on the task at hand, and executing your game as you practice it, then I think that focusing on those factors is really important.
Yeah, and I think also, obviously harder, easier said than done. Just if you do find yourself in that position, I think, don't lose sight of the fact that your own achievement, you're at the final table on your own merits as well. So, okay, you might be up against people that have, achieved a lot more than you in their career or whatever. But that's not to say that in a year's time, a couple of years' time, or whatever, you're going to be that player that the people are going to come in and feel somewhat intimidated by. But yeah, just don't lose the confidence really going in and saying, well, I'm here. I'm one of only 8 players left. I have just as much ability to win as the rest of them. It's really important not to be intimidated, because it can affect decisions you make. Later down the line, you'll look at it and say, that decision literally was based on me just feeling, like a cat in headlights because I'm, faced a bet by this player or whatever. So yeah, the key is not to be intimidated.
Yeah. Also, the only problem is your decisions on the final table are so amplified in the terms of how they affect the results. Finishing 8th and finishing the first is a world of difference as far as the prize money is concerned. So I think there's a lot of pressure. I think it's great advice. Just do your thing, keep it cool, and let the play, let your play sort of do the talking, and. Is there any sort of pick that you guys have on this table? Have you seen anyone from this table play before?
Well, I'd say right off the bat, Denoy seems like he's willing to get in there and mix it up a bit, while other people are kind of hanging back a bit and waiting for some pay jumps here. So when I see that sort of aggressive approach from the get-go of the final table, and you can see he's chipped up quite a bit, I think Denoy would be my pick here to keep our eyes on potentially taking down this gold medallion. It's going to be tough, These high roller final tables, yes, the players are accomplished. Yes, like they have all these results and everything, but you still got to win a coin flip here and there, Like there's still got to be a winner and a loser of a hand. So, but I like the way Denoy's come out here, guns blazing, and really applying the pressure. These other stacks seem like they're being pretty ICM aware, and when Denoy's taking that aggression, I think he's going to be a big favorite to take this down, assuming he wins his coin flips.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. I was thinking early on that maybe Denoy is having a sort of a run of misfortune. He came straight out with the ace queen in the first hand, lost a few chips to the king 10, woke up with something like the ace 8 suited, got free bet by the aces, and I thought maybe his plan wasn't going to work out, but he's turned it around quickly, and that's what happens when you play like that. So I definitely agree with Kevin that Denoy it's going to be one to watch for sure. I haven't really seen the other players play previous, and based on what we've seen, it's been pretty solid and tight. So it'd be like just.
It'll be quite poetic if High Gummy wins.
Yes. It would. I saw the name and I thought, oh no, they're going to mention it. I was hoping to leave this as a surprise for the end of the series, but. Yeah. Anyway, I hope that does work out.
And since we were speaking of ICM, it becomes very difficult on a table like this when you have sort of a middling stack to play, because you're really struggling with the fact that ICM and the pay jumps are there. At the same time, you don't have much room to sort of participate in hands as freely as you'd like. So middling stacks have a very tough sort of position. How sort of should they be approaching the game?
Should probably be pretty tight, I think. We got one guy down here with sub 8 big blinds, and everybody else, has him covered quite handily. So until we see some bust outs here, I don't think we're going to see people stepping too out of line.
Yeah.
So we have a couple of pocket pairs, Denoy with the 6s and Lucky by on the button with the pocket 9s.
Yeah, I think this is a good standard jam from the 9s on the button.
It's about 15 big blinds. It'd be a tough call here for the 6s. Don't really want to give up your chip position. I'd like to see a fold here. Obviously, we know the hands, but 15 big blinds, just a little too much of a chance that they're going to be up against an overpair, and Denoy makes the correct lay down there. I think Denoy's been playing this final table pretty well so far.
Kareke looking down at Queen Jack suited, chooses to fold.
Yeah, it's a pretty hand to be folding on 20 big blinds, but just not wanting to get in the mix there because of the way the chip stacks are working out. This can be kind of an annoying part about watching just a final table, is that people become handcuffed, by the ICM considerations, and it kind of makes the table inactive. And maybe at maybe lower stake final tables, you'll have some more amateur players in there just disregarding ICM and mixing it up, and the chips will be flying around. But you see the experience of the high roller table here. People are just being extremely cautious, open folding pretty strong hands, and just being aware that the way to make money at this final table is to outlast other players, not necessarily accumulate the most chips. This is a very interesting play here with the 7s. I don't know about just 3-betting small here. Seems like a shove or fold, in my opinion.
Yeah, I was going to say, yeah, first option I would probably lean towards folding, I guess.
Yeah.
Especially from the under the gun razor. But yeah, I suppose it looks super strong. 3-betting and under the gun raise, given all these considerations.
Yeah, the thing I don't like about it though is like you can allow him to call you so easy. You don't really have any blockers. You just have 2 7s in your hand, which really doesn't block any folds or any hands that you want to fold. So yeah, I think it's just a shove or fold, and versus under gun raise, I think you just got to lay that down. It's a disaster if you bust before these other stacks. Again, the ICM pressure is just being so significant with now a 5 big blind stack present on the table. So until that happens, until he busts, I think we're going to continue to see players being pretty cautious. But
wow,
big flop, but no action.
Big flop, and literally, barring craziness, won't be able to get another cent out of this one.
Yeah, I could see checking this spot too. I mean, you're only really protecting against the ace of hearts. It's pretty easy to, if the button has something, to check to him, and he'll still value it himself. So I think I'd like to see a check there. Just like you're so far ahead of almost every hand. It doesn't seem like there's much need for protection, and you can get value. You can let them catch up and turn top pair, maybe get some value on some later streets. You just have, if they turn a queen, then you just have 100% of the equity, and they have a confusing spot with top pair. So I think checking and just slow playing the hand there would have been kind of nice. Mm-hmm. And finally, we get our short stack all in. The ace-5 suited, 5 big blinds. We're going to get a call.
Interesting open by Kavipri. He should be aware that there are some short stacks behind him, and a little loose open there with the Jack-9 of diamonds. Obviously, he's going to be forced to call now.
Yeah, and as you came on the stream, Richie, I don't know if you saw the hand, but Kavipri had called an all-in from a 10 big blind stack with Queen-8 suited in this final table, and now he's folding the Jack-9 suited for 3 more big blinds. Suspicious, I would say, to say the least.
I missed that hand. I didn't see that hand.
The Queen-8 suited is right as Peter was introducing Richie. So we thought that he was going to fold. He was doing the introduction. He ended up calling, and that's how Violator doubled right as you were coming on the stream. So very strange to me that he would call a 10 big blind reshove with Queen-8 suited, but then fold to a 5 big blind reshove with Jack-9 suited. That doesn't make any sense to me.
Do you think, because I've noticed Kavipri isn't sort of taking his foot off the brakes with, he limped he flattered the last hand of the Queen-10 suited. Looks like he likes to get involved, and I almost feel like when he called off the 10 bigs, he probably felt like he could afford it, gambling a bit, and now he's maybe looking at the stack and thinking, he's coming as chip leader after firing 5 bullets in the tournament as well, and maybe just got a bit of cold feet there, thinking, he calls this and loses, and he's amongst the shortest stacks within half an hour of coming into the table. I don't know whether he's going to really tighten up now or what, but it's very, very sort of odd. I mean, I don't see any situation where I'll be folding that hand for an extra 3 bigs once you've opened it.
Yeah, I'm scratching my head at that one still. It didn't make any sense to me. And I'm sure it's frustrating for the other short stacks at the final table. You would expect the stack to get called there, and then at least have a chance to pay jump. So for Violator and Supreme One, who are now neck and neck with the short stack, that it's a little frustrating for them to see somebody make such a big error like that. I would be not so happy.
And you're also, we're about to see a big one here, but you're also sort of transmitting to the table because they don't see the hand then. They're like, what garbage is this guy opening that he can't call an extra 3 big? So then you open yourself up to
and Hi Garmi takes the pot down, eliminating our first player on this final table. Arun Sridhara finishes 8th place for a prize money of 1,95,000. So Hi Garmi, Sam, he's chipping up.
Yeah, there it is. I think
there we have it.
Chipping up and then straight back into the sixes. I don't know if I'm too tight, but
I would open muck that hand.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yes. Yeah.
It's just these hands, 6s, 7s, 5s, they just don't play well as open raises. The big blind's going to defend a fair amount, and you just have no blockers to other hands that want to give you resistance. And it works this time, but I think you're not playing to flop a set anymore. This isn't the early stage of the tournament. You need to have a pretty good reason to be opening hands from under the gun. I think these pairs you can probably just be folding, considering the way the stacks are distributed right now. So I agree with you there, Sam.
And this is going to be
Supreme One now look down at Ace Kings, the short stack at this table. He is, of course, our 3rd place on the leaderboard.
Yeah, it only has 7.5 big blinds, so it's going to be what would normally be a plus EV call from the queen 10 is going to have to consider the rest of the chip positions here and what his stack will look like if he calls and loses. I think it's a pretty tough spot for the queen 10 here, to be honest. You don't want to really be calling off, but it's such a shallow shove with only 7.5 bigs. Not really sure what he'll do here.
Could go either way, I think. Yeah, it's tough.
It is a tough spot. High Gurmi taking his time there.
I'm feeling he may call.
The other thing probably that High Gurmi might take into consideration is Supreme One didn't actually get too much out of line throughout this final table. So maybe he could find a fold, but of course, it is quite a borderline decision here.
Yeah, I think I like that fold. I mean, I'm definitely folding queen 9. I'm probably thinking queen jack is on the border and queen 10's a fold, just off of, and without looking it up and off of instincts. But yeah, I kind of like that fold. It's just so rough when you call, lose, double him up, and then now you're basically at the bottom of the leaderboard. Whereas if you fold, you still have 20 or 2 million chips, and you're still second in chips. So it's just, the shoves here are massive. The pots are big. Once somebody is all in and called, it's going to vault somebody up to the top of the leaderboard. So you want to make sure you really have a good hand. You have a good reason to call off. Should be an interesting spot. Again, seeing how the small blind plays. You're going to obviously see ace queen get all the chips here in the middle, but I think I like a limp here. Again, with the connecting cards in the small blind, the jack 10s, 10 9s, and 8 9s and stuff like that. I like to see a limp, but it's gonna be a massive pot.
Wow.
Yeah. And Denoy with basically the pot of the tournament so far. I mean, we haven't seen that many big all-in confrontations, and that one was, 15, 16 big blinds all in pre. So one of the biggest pots of the tournament. Denoy getting a full double really has a lot of chips now, and we only have 2.5 big blinds behind.
Yeah.
Unfortunate situation there for High Gurmi. He was doing pretty well. He had a nice stack as well. The jam a little too aggressive there, considering the amount of chips he had.
Yeah, a bit too much. I mean, I definitely prefer being the aggressor and putting 16 bigs at risk in that spot than calling off the previous hand for only 6 bigs. But yeah, it's. I think I definitely lean more towards Kevin's.
Yeah, I think going back to what Kevin was saying, I think it's to be having a sort of a strong limping sort of a range makes complete sense. Instead of just being the aggressor, because you're going to get into spots like this, and even if you do a min raise and see a flop, it's going to be very difficult for you to be playing out of position against the big blind's range, considering it's going to be reasonably wide and you're going to be out of position.
Yeah, and Denoy has been in there mixing it up, so you would think that there'd be a fair amount of just punishing the limper there. So maybe that went into the thought process of shoving to jack 10. But yeah, just those hands flop so well. I mean, obviously you can be in spots where it's plus EV to shove, but limping still makes chips, so it's really weighing between those two decisions. When you have dead money in the pot, there's possible to have two decision trees where it's plus EV to do one thing and plus EV to do another thing because of the dead money in there. And I think limping is with jack 10. It just flops so well. It keeps your opponent's range wide, so they can check back with a jack 3 or a 10-4 or something like that, and you can flop a top pair. Now be dominating them. It's just jack 10 plays well enough that I think just limping, it's actually, in my opinion, one of the best hands to limp. It's like those connecting big cards, jack 10, 10, 9, maybe even some queen jack and 8 9s and stuff like that. Kind of an interesting spot here for Violator, huh?
Yeah. As I said, it's interesting because the last hand, Hayagami shoved again, and this time Kavipri folded for one big blind in the big.
And Violator chooses to call that raise and seeing a very good flop for his king-queen.
Yeah, and I like the call. I mean, you just don't have any perceived fold equity with 7 bigs. So king queen flops pretty well. We just toss in one big, see if you hit the flop or not. Proceed from there. And we are going to see a c-bet, a jam, and a call. Violator getting the full double with the king queen against the jacks. Just the annoying spot for the jacks. Certainly can't blame him for calling it off there. It's kind of like, if my opponent has a queen, they have a queen. We're just going to run it. And his opponent had a queen, so he's drawing very slim there. Only 2 outs.
What do you think about the bet on the flop with the jacks? Do you think you should be checking back there, or was the bet fine?
Yeah, I mean, if you're going to bet, you got to call. That's the problem, So if you check back, you can induce some bluffs. You can turn your hand to a bluff catcher. You can maybe get your opponent to value cut themselves with second pair. So yeah, I think checking back there's pretty reasonable. I mean, when you have a marginal hand, you should be checking back and bluff catching. When you have super strong hands, you should be c-betting them. I wouldn't call jacks on a queen high board a super strong hand. I mean, we all know how frustrating jacks can be to play, and I think a check back there is perfectly reasonable.
Mm-hmm.
Then now again in the mix with the ace jack. He has been pretty impressive on this table from the get-go, actually.
Yeah, I mean, he's been playing a lot of hands, and he's been winning them. And then the ace queen was obviously a huge spot. Not too difficult to play that one when the small blind just rips into you for 16 bigs and you have the ace queen suited. He won the hand, so he played it super well. But yeah, he's definitely been mixing it up, but also winning. I mean, I don't ever feel that comfortable just having ace high against a jack 10. I mean, they still have plenty of equity, and that's what these final tables come down to. You have to have your good hands hold. You got to win your bases, even if it's a 40-60 or 60-40. You still got to win those. And Denoy's been able to have his hands hold up, has maintained some aggression. And I think he's in just a great position to take this tournament down right now. The rest of the players in these high roller tournaments, they play so much more tight at the final tables because they're more ICM aware, as opposed to like a big field, small buy-in, amateur field tournament. These higher buy-in tournaments, you're going to see a lot more caution at the final tables, in my opinion, just because they are so aware of how real the pay jumps are.
Supreme One looking down at Queen 4 suited. He's having thoughts, but he did make the right fold. High Gummy now with a little more than 5 blinds.
Yeah, alligator blood. Alligator blood.
Alligator blood.
Yeah, and you can see how awkward it is for these stacks to open right now. We have 13, 15, and 15 big blinds with a 7 and a 5 big blind stack behind them. So Kavipri is I kind of like this play. I'd like to go for a bigger sizing against the big stacks, big blind, kind of just pricing himself in to call Supreme One and High Garme, and trying to disincentivize the defend from Denoy, who, of course, just defends anyways, flops himself an open ender, backdoor flush draw.
And Kavipri betting that one with the bottom pair.
Yeah, and again, a spot where check back could be reasonable. I mean, I think when you open 2.5x, you just almost feel obligated to c-bet again. And wow, this is a brave double barrel here.
The noise should shove here anyway. Just
wow. 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 Well, Kavipri's definitely getting in there. I mean, turning his third pair into a bluff on the river, didn't need to. Was up against the worst pair and bricked open ender. So Kavipri taking down the huge pot. Very interesting hand, though. I mean, I could have seen checking back on the flop. I could have seen shutting down on the turn. I could have seen a check back on the river. Pretty much. Right. I don't know if I would have played any of those streets the same, but it worked. He took down the pot. 2.4 mil now.
Yeah, nice chip out for Kavipri there. Supreme One looking down at the Carve boys with a little less than 7 blinds. Of course, we know he's not going to get any action.
Yeah, and just too many garbage hands behind. It's kind of so frustrating when you have, the 6 bigs and you finally wake up with the monster and everybody folds. It'll be frustrating, but it'll be a nice pot for him. Get back up to 960K. Basically be double the stack of high Garme.
Lucky Bhai and Violator have pretty much shut down, considering they have middling stacks. We haven't seen them participate in too many hands. Of course, we know they haven't got much to play with. And Dinoy looks at another pretty hand there on the bottom.
Yeah, he has. Oh, so go ahead. Sorry.
No, I was going to say this will probably just be a case of open and fold. Always nice to pick up. And as strong as this in the button.
Yeah, 25 big blinds being the big stack. I mean, I think we're going to start seeing a lot of busts here in the next 10 or 15 minutes. I mean, just the blinds are getting too big. The players are getting too shallow. I'm not going to see a confrontation here, but I think it'll be coming soon. I'm sure Peter is prepping the Doom switch.
Sitting in the shadows.
Of course, everyone on this table guaranteed a prize money of 2.65 lakhs. We have 15.5 lakhs up top. So reasonably large tournament, this one. And of course, we're seeing the play also change. And like Kevin was mentioning, how more slower paced game this has been. Everybody's very ICM aware and taking their spots very carefully.
Yeah. Supreme One electing to just min raise off of this stack size is pretty interesting. I think I'd like to see a shove here. Of course, he's very likely to get shoved on here by Lucky Bhai. So
Lucky Bhai picking up 9s the second time around. The last time it was against Noy with the 6s.
Yeah, I think.
And this could be a second bust out.
yeah, but once you just put in a min raise, can you really just call it off with the King Jack here? I mean, you're so shallow. It just seems like such a shame to fold, but how can you call?
Yeah, exactly. That's just open shove. But also, if you're lucky, that's what I was going to say. I mean, it looks so suspicious as well. I mean, hands pay themselves. Yeah, you've got 9s, but you've got someone suddenly min raising from a 6 big blind stack or whatever, and I mean, probably get through if he.
Check here. I think I'd like to see a bet as the pre-flop raiser, even with the king high. It's Supreme One continuing to play extremely careful and a little bit of an unconventional style. It's going to be really hard for the nines to fold here. So I think we're going to see a call to the 20% pot bet. I mean, yeah, it's definitely going to get called.
Also thinking about his open there with the king jack, I think open folding was sort of the best option since High Garmi has a shorter stack, and he could have opted to not participate in this hand at all.
Yeah, I mean, open folding or shoving, but min raising like that. I mean, honestly, if he actually finds a shove for like 6 big blinds, you could probably look back on the hand and say it's genius, because I mean, how can you?
It's a 6 pot there for Lucky Bhai.
It's a sick one, And yeah, I mean, it looks so strong. I mean, in some ways, that playing it that way really saved the Supreme One. And yeah, wow.
Supreme One now with 1.4 million chips back in the game. High Garmi still the short stack at this table. He's got less than 4 blinds. Very tricky spot, this one, Sam.
Yeah, I mean, you've got a couple of Broadway cards, Queen 10. I think, given that you are the shortest stack, I would still fold this hand. I think personally, you can see the blinds through one more round as well, and given the action at the table, you still have a good shot of laddering a couple of spots. But yeah, I mean, this probably get through. I mean, in a lot of spots, you think big blind might have to call for an extra 3 bigs, but given the distribution of chips, yeah, that's a nice pickup there for.
And I gotta be looking down at pocket 8. Definitely a shove candidate, that one.
Bit of momentum, and this one should also get through.
A very tough spot for Car AK with the ace-10 here.
Yeah, ace-10 just a bit too weak, really, to especially considering the gun shove. I mean, in a nutshell, it is what it is. It's 5-6 big blind shove, but yeah. He doesn't have anything invested. And yeah, I wonder if we can make it 3 in a row. Unfortunately not.
Unfortunately not.
I mean,
I wouldn't be surprised if Kavipri chooses to open this.
I was about to say, I mean, he should probably fold, but I wouldn't be surprised if he opens it.
There you go. And he chooses a 3x size here, Sam.
Yeah, I mean, he obviously doesn't want to price in big blind to defend for one more big. And I was going to say, given what we've seen from Kavi, the ace-10 suited, it's a fine hand to shove with.
And Kavipri looks like he's got his hands stuck in the jar here. So Pre1 making an aggressive shove there with the ace-10.
What?
And Kavipri.
I mean, I go off the stream and only one bust out. Clearly, the doom switch is not working. I think Kevin has taken a bit of a break. I'm going to give him a chance to take a crack at that doom switch in the meantime. But there's been a fair bit of action that's been going on. So yes, Kevin McPhee is on a bit of a break. He will join us a little bit later. But in the meantime, though, another ace-jack on the board against Kavipri's pocket sixes.
Yeah, I think this is the problem. You just start bleeding chips. The deuces should have been a fold. The sixes, I think, again, I'd probably just fold two, to be honest. You're raising into the big stack. You can definitely sit back and let a few players bust. I'm surprised the ace-jack. I mean, the situation isn't all that different from the last hand. So if we're gonna jam with the ace-10, certainly I'd probably do the same thing with the ace-jack.
I agree.
Spot, and wow, the Supreme One kicking himself, not knowing that the ace-jack is dead to a house. And yeah, great card for Kavipri and like
a beautiful setup here. I think Kevin did get to the doom switch.
Yeah. Oh!
Wow.
That is insane. I mean, it is what it is. But yeah.
Super sick, this one for Denoy. Delivering the trips. And we have a new chip leader. What started us off as a questionable open ends up with one of the largest spots we've had tonight.
Yeah, and just so unfortunate for Denoy to not only hit the ace on the turn, but to hit that one outer to make trips on the river as well. To really, if there was any chance of getting away from it, yeah.
Clearly, it's not working as far as even sending another person to hit the switch is not working yet, but close. We got close on that one. Well, it's fair to say that this is turning out to be one of our longer final tables in this set of live streams that we've been doing. And fair enough, it is the big game. Players were sitting a little bit deeper than usual. And I also think, Sam, Richie, there's been a sense of wariness on this final table. At least at the start, the first 20, 25 minutes, players weren't really I think Kavipri was the only one who was trying to be table captain and doing a few things here and there. But the rest of them were like playing very, very coy. Just the nature of the stacks, because there were a lot of those middling stacks there, I think, Richie.
Oh, I was watching the start of the stream, and I think one aspect of it is that when we started the stream, the chips were very equally balanced. I think besides Lucky Bhai, everyone had 10 plus big blinds. Everybody had a decent stack. The blinds were quite relatively, it was quite cheap to see hands, and we saw a lot of players, taking the time to settle in, and besides Denoy and say Kavipri, we didn't see anybody take too much. Action to the streets, and which is why I think obviously the pay jumps have to be taken into account, and I think most of the players taking it slow, looking at that 15.5 lakh first place finish, of course the medallion.
Yeah, for sure. I think Sam, I guess, there could be something to be said for being a little more aggressive if you had the bigger stacks, but no one really having a massive stack. Like we saw 93 big blinds as the big stack in yesterday's tournament as compared to 53 big blinds who was right next to him on the counts. Not such wide gaps in this particular final table, though.
Yeah, and also the thing is, and not only are there not so wide gaps, we had a selection of players that were around those middling stacks, and it hasn't really ever got to a point that there's really one or two players that are super short. They've always found a double up, and it's never really, the dynamic hasn't really changed that much. So it's never got to a point where the bigger stacks can say, "Oh, now we can, really shift the gears or whatnot." And this is going to be interesting. If anyone would pull off 8 bigs with this hand,
it would be Kavipri. But no, exercising control and restraint there is Kavipri. That's, of course, Amit Gehani. And he's going to stay on and not do anything more in that hand. And Violator rewarded with the big slick in the follow. But I'm not sure he's going to get too much action here.
Yeah, I mean, Jack 9 suited is tempting.
Yeah, definitely a tempting hand there, Jack 9 suited. I think Lucky Bhai might opt out of playing this hand because of the way the chip stacks are distributed at the moment. Definitely high Gurmi is sort of one of the major factors in everyone's decisions since he's been the short stack for quite some time. He's chipped up from 2.5 big blinds, hanging around with alligator blood, like we said earlier. And definitely we'll see a fold there with the Jack 9. Violator's not going to get any action with the beautiful ace-king suited that he's got.
Yeah, and I think that's the Jack 9 is obviously the right move. It's so tempting, though, when you look and think, it's not like you're shoving in, oh, wow.
What did I just see?
Now, I've heard of the Doom switch, but the Chaos switch that Kevin has gone and found.
I think Kevin McPhee just threw the kitchen sink at the Doom switch on that one. Wow.
For sure.
Wow. Oh, boy.
I mean, ironically, what a name to have, Violator. Yeah. I mean, I would never have felt so violated in my life.
Oh, boy. Wow.
Supreme One, now the chip leader after that interesting hand with the 3-7 off.
Oh, boy. And then that conclusion.
What was it, 10-7?
Wow.
I mean, obviously he's trying to, apply pressure. You can't, in a nutshell, you can't really fault the play, I guess. But yeah, it's he's obviously not expecting his opponent to turn up with a hand as strong as ace-king suited. So actually, I have a lot of respect for the play, and I'd like to see that a lot more. Actually, I like that aggression, but sometimes it can go wrong, but in this particular case, it turned out to be better. But wow.
Maybe the Supreme One should change his username to the Violator.
The Supreme Violator.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know.
Even better. There you go. I think we're going to try and get Kevin McPhee back onto our stream. In the meantime, though, I'm going to send one more candidate towards the Doom switch. So we'll say a short goodbye to Sam Razavi on this one, but we'll see him in a few minutes. There you go. Sam Razavi going to get his fresh cup of coffee. And in the meantime, the action continues at this final table of the big game. One of the slower final tables, if I can call it that, in the live streams we've done so far. Just 2 eliminations here. And we're about an hour, I believe, into the action.
Kevin, did you catch that hand?
Of course, he was responsible for that hand. Of course, he caught the hand.
Yeah, that was a limp and a shove. Is that what happens?
It was a raise and shove.
Raise and shove.
A raise and a shove. With 7-3 off. Yeah, well.
The Supreme One has, like we say, well, I don't want to use the word on air, but something of steel. Let's just put it off that. That was a.
That doesn't make it that obvious.
It doesn't make it obvious at all.
Queen's there for our shortest stack, high Gurmi. with 2.5 blinds. Of course, we know nobody has the hands to call. Tiger has done a great job of sticking around.
Only one big blind more to call. I mean, 10-3 offsuits about as bad as it gets, though. And we have seen Kavipri fold in similar situations before. So, yeah, we do see a fold here. But Supreme one, I am just shocked. So, raise, jam, and then he just hits the old pair on the ace-king. And he'd been playing pretty cautious, so that was very out of character. Maybe kind of recognizing that he was playing cautious, and maybe we get some respect on his shove. It's just not a hand that you want to do that with at all. But hey, he's got the chips now, and yeah, really, really violator did indeed get violated there. Oh, and Denoy is going to get called here by the aces.
Everyone's
running into it.
Running straight headlong into those bullets.
He's going to need a deuce and does not get it and will be eliminated in 6th place.
Well, there you go, folks. Our third elimination at this final table is Denoy played by Arun Kumar Singh. He finishes in 6th place for 3.61 lakhs. One of the more aggressive, if I can call it that, players at this final table. But like they say, close but no cigar for Denoy as he makes his way out.
And Highgarmi has chipped up a couple of places there with the interesting hands that we've seen. And right now he has nothing to lose. His shove with Queen 9 hence shows that being the shortest stack at the table, his decisions are more straightforward than the rest.
Yeah, when you're the shortest stack at the final table, the ICM pressure is off of you. You're the one who's allowed to just play normal shoving ranges and not have to worry about, calling it off bad, or you just have no pressure on you. This is going to be another tough spot with the Queen 10. We do see him just snap call. And he's going to be bust in 5th place. So Supreme one with the Queen Jack there, shoving from the small blinds. Highgarmi feeling obligated to call it off the Queen 10. I would like to see, again, a little bit more thought there, but I think it's just pretty standard all the way around. Fun out-kicking him and getting the bust out.
Well, I'm sure I'm going to get some comments in the comment section by saying what I'm about to say. Highgarmi couldn't take the heat that the Supreme one turned on. And so he's our next elimination, 5th place for Vinayak Bajaj playing as Highgarmi. And that's a prize of 4.73 lakhs that he will take home. Well played to him. And we're now down to half the table gone. And yep, let's see if we can get the winners to a contest question. And we squeeze another contest question very, very soon.
Oh, last hand we see Kavipri defending the 7-6, flopping middle pair. Kavipri just applying max pressure and jamming it in with the ace high. And Kavipri just called it off the middle pair, turn 2 pair, and gets the double. So things are just so shallow right now. We started with 50K big blind. We're up to 160 right now. That's triple blinds and not too much time. So we're going to see the pace just continue to be pretty furious here. It was so slow at the beginning of the final table, and the blinds just were allowed to get really big without many eliminations that, we're now seeing 10 big blind stacks. The biggest stack has just over 20 bigs. So this should be a lot of action here. Wow, and Kavipri with the wheel draw, makes the wheel on the river, tries to get the value bet, and Supreme one just snap fold. Well, some pretty good hands here.
Yeah, we've got our contest winners, but I'm going to just wait for a second before. Wow, that was a tight fold from the button.
I don't know what to make of that. What do you think, Kevin?
I mean, seems like Supreme One got it all in with 7-3 offsuit earlier. I'd probably not be folding ace-10 to that guy. If I'm going to make a tight fold, it's not going to be against the person who shoved it in with 7-3 off. That's for sure. So I would have liked to see a reshove there, especially just facing a min raise. You do have some perceived fold equity, even though you only have about 12 bigs. But I think that would have been an excellent reshove spot. And Kavipri here, peeling on pretty shallow stacks with the king jack, and then electing to bet the ace high here as a lead out. I'm not sure that's in flow. I'm not a big fan of that lead. Your king high it's not really doing anything to bet king high there in the turn whatsoever. So I really dislike that lead. Supreme One, easy call, and he's going to try to value bet the river here. And Kavipri is, I'm not liking some of these lines here. Definitely some creative play that I wouldn't be expecting at a high roller final table. That's for sure. Wow.
Lucky by now with the aces. Supreme One looking down at king 6 of hearts. A standard defend if Lucky by chooses to min raise.
Yeah, definitely. A suited king is always a welcome sight in the big blind. You get an opportunity to at least see a flop. Of course, here we're going to see Kavipri open again with a big raise. We've seen this from a couple times, 2.5x. This is going to get probably stuffed in his face. I mean, I can see some merit to against this type of player just calling slow playing here. It's probably going to get some bets on the flop. If your flop's top pair, you're just going to stack them. And I feel like when you have aces, you don't feel like there's many hands out there that can call you. So, yeah, he's going to go for the reshove, and he's going to get the fold for sure.
Yeah, we've seen similar kind of spots in the previous live stream where some of the players chose to. I think there was just one instance where a player just called, and everyone else has been just putting it in there. So there is something to be said for making that play, of course. But Lucky by going all in and winning that pot.
Yeah, definitely a great spot for Lucky by to flat there, considering how Kavipri also has been getting out of line a little bit. And yeah, you got nothing to worry when you have aces. So could have been a spot where he just calls and sees a flop.
Yeah, I kind of think it's an opponent-specific exploit. That opponent has been showing that they want to put chips in the middle of the pot. They're overplaying a lot of spots, and that they're probably pretty out of line. So I feel like when you have aces there in the reshove, you're just expecting to get folds very high percentage of the time. And that's kind of a bummer when you have the number one hand. You want to make sure that they can catch up on the flop, and then maybe get all the chips, and then put yourself in a great position to get heads up at this point. But he did go for the reshove, and I can't really blame him too much. That is normally the standard move, but I just think against that opponent, it would have been a pretty good option to call.
Well, I think it's a good opportunity for us to get to our contest question number 1, where we asked you how many days are there in 4 years. There were lots of comments giving us the full breakdown of calculations, but the answer, of course, is 1,461 days, because you have to account for the leap year in there as well. So there you go, 5 tickets being given away into FTS's Feast, day 1H on the 17th at 4 p.m. Let's take a quick look at this hand before we move on to the winner names of that contest.
Yeah, an interesting no c-bet here from Supreme One. Would have probably got it done on the flop. And Kavipri leading out with the turn top pair, and Supreme One's going for a raise. Wow, that is very ambitious.
Oh boy.
Something about the 7.
I guess the 7 does something. I think that's, if you're taking that spot, you're over bluffing quite clearly. You don't really have any sort of equity. You're dead to a king. Plus, those low boards can be all over the big blind defend, and Kavipri doesn't seem like a guy I want to be bluffing, to be honest. So I think it's not a great play there from Supreme One. just way over bluffing that spot, and Kavipri takes down the pot. The blind's up again. Car AK down to 7 bigs. Easy shove with ace high on the button.
I wanted to ask you a question about the dry flops, but I think Peter's got the contest winners. We'll go to that, and I'll come back to the question.
Yeah, this might just be an interesting hand, so we'll wait for this particular hand to get done, and then
Yeah, we're going to see an all-in and a call.
9 on the flop.
Yeah, that's dirty. Kavipri he would have had 47 million chips, or 4.7 million chips. Brutal beat. Ace 9 suited, hitting the 9 on the flop, and now drawing the ace king. Huge pot. And that's going to completely cripple Kavipri.
well, let's take a look at our contest winners who are going to get a ticket into FTS's Feast Day 1H on the 17th of September at 4 p.m. Sachin Srivastav, who's got the ID Heart Loss. There's Shibani Debroy playing as underscore rated. Ramesh Palikili playing as Alalonia. And Samir Ranpise playing as Samir 1718. And Animesh De playing as Psycho 95. Congratulations to all our 5 winners. Your names will be mentioned in the contest streams as well, in the live streams as well. So make sure you keep your eye out for that one. In the meantime, Kavipri getting some chips with that queen kicker.
Yeah, quads running out on the board, and Car AK just couldn't help himself with the 9-4 offsuit there. I think you got to have some sort of folding range there. I mean, if you're basically shoving that hand, you're shoving every single hand. Wow.
What?
Oh my gosh. Wow. So,
not so lucky for Lucky Bhai in that one. Wow.
That's brutal.
Oh boy, we've seen a couple of...
so brutal.
Boy.
Sam doing some work with the Doom Switch.
Yes, the Doom Switch is well and truly active, and I think we're going to be bringing Sam onto the broadcast really soon. In the meantime, I'm going to ask our second contest question, which is this. And again, it's not poker related, it's more IQ related. And this one also should tickle your brain cells. Can you arrange 4 9s to make it equal to 100? Arrange 4 9s in order to make it 100. Get your answer into the live stream and with your Spartan Poker ID, and you can win a ticket once again, one of 5 tickets that are on offer for this contest question into day 1H of the Feast tournament, the 1 crore guarantee tournament. So get your answers in. If by any chance this final table finishes before we can announce the winners, it will be posted in our stream. So make sure you keep your eye out for that one. Arrange 4 9s in order to make it equal to 100. That's the second contest question. And then it was down to 3.
And Supreme One electing to just limp here at the King Jack's pretty interesting. I think that would be a pretty nice spot to shove.
There you go, betting about half the pot, and that was enough to win it. We're going to say goodbye to Richard Harida Soham. Thank you so much, Richie, for joining us. It was a lot of fun as usual.
Thank you so much, guys.
And now it's time to look towards the kitchen, where Sam Razavi's walked out with coffee and a well-greased Doom Switch switcheroo. We've lost a bunch of players in his absence. Sam, welcome back to the stream.
Thank you. Is my audio working?
It is. We can hear you.
And so it's a Doom Switch. Just on time.
It's working really well.
Couple of crazy hands. Wow. The ace-9 clearly being
Wow. Yeah, the action has been crazy in just like the last 4 or 5 hands. Car AK hitting 3 outer twice to vault up to chip leader, and then ripping it in with the 9-7 off last hand. Supreme One finding the easy call with the King Queen and securing the double, but K still with the chip lead had so many chips going to heads up, just hitting the Ace-9 versus the Kings, the Ace-9 suited versus the Ace-King. Just running hot to the end of the tournament, running hot when it matters most. But, when there's 400 players in the tournament, you got to just congratulate all the players for making it this deep. This is a tough tournament to make it this deep in. All of them are putting them in a position where they can get lucky if they can get that run of cards. And that sometimes is what poker's about. He's playing his hands. I think he's not making any massive mistakes and just running hot and hitting some 3-outers.
Indeed. And speaking of those players that Kevin McPhee has mentioned, it has been a pretty good run for a lot of them. Let's take a quick look at the finishing places for this final table thus far. The first elimination was Arun Sridhara playing as Vazar Morgolis, finishing in 8th for 1.95 lakhs. Then you had Vishnu Khandelwal playing as Violator, going in 7th place, quite thoroughly violated with a payday of 2.65 lakhs. Arun Kumar Singh playing as Denoy in 6th place for 3.61 lakhs. And we had Vinayak Bajaj as High Garmi, finishing in 5th place for 4.73 lakhs. And the last two eliminations we saw, just wait till the end of this hand.
It could be an easy call here. The rivered pair, given the action, it's just been check, 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 check. K knowing can't win the pot with 10 high, trying to steal it there after his opponent checked back twice. But bad news for him is that they just rivered pretty strong pair.
Yeah, nice fifth streak for him. And as we mentioned, the last two bust outs were Lakshman Singh playing as Lucky Bhai, not so lucky in that hand, which got him out in 4th place for a sum of 6 lakh rupees. And we just saw the elimination of Kavipri, that's Amit Gehani, who was the chip leader at the start of this final table. He finished in 3rd place for a 7.42 lakh payday. Now down to heads up. Players are battling it out for that 15.59 lakh up top prize. An interesting flop here. Both players catching a nice bit of it.
I think we'll likely see it go check, check here. K fired twice with the king high flush draw. River King is certainly going to be enough showdown value to check back. Supreme One taking down the pot with ace-6. Well, personally, one of my least favorite hands, the old ace-6 offsuit. Where, I don't know if you guys remember the James Bond movie, but the pot where the guy whose eye bleeds,
Yeah.
He has ace-6 off, the sheaf, there we go. He makes a full house with ace-6 off, calls a raise out of position with ace-6 off. It flops a full house and dies.
I'd just like to say that all poker players who were watching that movie at that point in time just spontaneously imploded on seeing that hand. So you can be sure, while that was a big, big part of booming poker once again in the 2000s, I'm guessing they could have chosen a slightly more realistic setup, but hey, it's the big screen after all. So one should expect.
I loved how cheesy it was, honestly. I love rewatching that scene. It's just so ridiculous. They're playing gazillion-dollar stakes with like 10 big blinds or something, and it's just flush, boat, straight flush. James Bond slow rolls them.
Oh boy.
Wow.
Poker was the beneficiary in that hand, but an interesting turn card there. 2 diamonds for the Supreme One.
I think I'd like to see a lead here when your opponent checks back. You're the big blind defender. You have the gutter. It's going to be, interesting spot. Just feel like it's easier to lead with this hand than check call, and then you get some fold equity in. Now he's rivered the top pair, and I just don't see how the king 2 can keep barreling here. So I'd expect this to go check, check. Big pot.
You think being a one card straight out there would scare off the Supreme One if Car AK would to put a substantial barrel on this street?
Well, yeah, I think it would be a tough spot for the Queen 10. Instead, he goes for the lead blocker bet. Very, very unconventional. Kind of interesting. I like it a little bit. Kind of naming his own price for showdown. Not wanting to face a big bet and just knowing that he's going to just fold out all those bluffs. Yeah, pretty interesting hand there. That was a huge pot. There was like 3.5 million in the river, and pretty much
this whole table's been unconventional. I mean,
stacks.
We've just been exposed to a bunch of hands that we didn't see coming out of nowhere in some cases. And
I completely agree. I mean, we were seeing a very cautious approach from all the players at the beginning of the final table. And then it was like, as soon as the blinds got big, everybody lost their minds. Just started going crazy. You know, I think when you see a 7-3 offsuit showdown for one of the biggest pots of the tournament as a winner, then, you know, things are going to loosen up at the table. Everybody's going to be able to see what everybody else is doing now, and they're going to start loosening up. And we've seen that. We've seen really unconventional plays basically since that hand happened. And yeah, very, very interesting dynamic.
I think it's fair to say that we're using words like interesting and unconventional, and they're all polite words. There have been several WTF moments for all the commentators across the hands that we've been watching. I think we've been a bit puzzled by some of the action here. It's been fun nonetheless, and let's see. Both the stacks are in pretty interesting positions right now. It's anyone's title to win, so we'll see what happens. But yeah, interesting, Kevin, that you mentioned, you know, the first 20 minutes, half an hour, people were like, all right, we'll just see how it goes, just feeling each other out and things like that. And the last 20 minutes now, we've seen something short of crazy, I guess.
Supreme One having the very beautiful ace king of diamonds, but 5 deuce offsuit in the big blinds, and you get a snap fold. Kind of frustrating. I always hate that, especially heads up. You expect to get some sort of action. They're supposed to be defending the big blind at least a little bit. You know. Yeah, I think Supreme One has just been the person who's changed gears the most at this final table. I mean, we saw him opening King Jack off of a stack that should be a shover fold earlier at the final table, and then he's made a couple other plays that were just, you know, I don't want to say that anything's bad, because you can play poker however you want. That's the beauty of the game. You can play poker however you want, and lots of different styles can win, you know, and somebody could just sense weakness and jam it in with the 7-3 offsuit and get a fold, you know, and it can happen anytime. So we use words like unconventional and interesting or whatever, but I just don't like to say that anything's purely bad, because poker is just such a nuanced game. You have all these different personalities and all this history that there can be a lot of different justifications for any sort of play. Of course, I don't think there's a justification for shoving in 7-3 offsuit. I'm not going to defend that.
See, Kevin McPhee couldn't help himself. He just couldn't help himself. Well, there you go. Jack for the Supreme One. Yeah, that should be the end of that action.
It's a pretty big bet. I think I'd like to see a smaller bet there. Try to get called by a little wider range of hands, rather than blasting it in with the top pair playing board kicker. So I don't know. Supreme One's definitely changing gears way more than everybody else. I mean, that's just what it comes back down to.
Yeah, I mean, Sam, it almost feels like there's a certain amount of erratic behavior almost by the Supreme One. in that sense.
Well, yeah. I mean, I'm just sitting here watching every hand and just wondering when it's all just going to suddenly go in. Like now, for example. Just because I saw a couple of, really early on, we saw that shove for 9-7. I guess, I don't know whether it was effective stack was maybe dictated that. But yeah, I think on both sides, I think it's going to, come down to an all-in.
Did you say all in?
This hand is going. Supreme's going to raise or jam, and don't see.
Well, Sam did do and so he's got that magic that's happening out there.
Chop it up.
Chopped. I don't think you wiggled your hands well enough for that particular hand, Sam. I think we need to get that one a little bit more.
I'll practice the wiggle next time we get the all-in, see if it works.
And the Supreme one certainly has the chip lead right now, but the stacks are quite interestingly poised. As my co-commentators have mentioned, one hand could just flip it all and, of course, end this all as well. But we're just seeing a slight slowdown in this heads-up play. Checks up for both players. And there should ideally be another split pot. There you go. Another split pot between these two heads-up finalists.
Yeah, what's up with all these split pots? We want some blood. Come on.
I think we need to send Sam off again to find the doom switch. Yeah.
I'm going to flip the doom switch. Oh, here we go. I want to 8-5.
Yeah, I don't think the Supreme one's going to get too crazy with that 7-8. But let's see what Car AK decides to do with his pocket deuces.
Yeah, it's just got to shove with the deuces. Heads up. How many big blinds before you start opening deuces, Sam? Do you need to have heads up? Like 40, 30, 40? Anything under 40, you're just all in.
Maybe 39, maybe not. Yeah, like around that sort of 30 mark. I mean, I never like it. I just prefer never to get deuces, just so I don't, run into it. But yeah, I think so. I think 40 is when you start. I mean, what do you reckon?
I think everything under 30 is perfectly reasonable. It depends on the opponent. Sometimes you have opponents that random tournament might be extremely weak heads up. You might just want to be opening or limping those hands above 30 big blinds sometimes. But yeah, I think just ripping it in with those small pairs, just forcing them to find a hand to have to call with is usually the way to go. Wow, interesting spot here. Supreme one going for the check raise with the jack high gutter ball, trying to fold out a hand just like King 9. And King 9 just floats here on pretty shallow stack. Both players just battling here with nothing, with 2.4 million in the pot.
Yeah, and he doesn't make a move here. Yeah.
Yes, there you go.
Well, almost even. There's no better time for a setup. And there we have it, Jack 4. He's piled in the Queen 6 recently. In it goes. Come on, let's go. Let's pick up that one big.
neither player hitting that flop, but the Supreme One quite well ahead at this point with his ace-10.
Yeah, and just limping it here, which I kind of like constructing some limping ranges here and just slowing down the heads-up match. Your opponent has, 20 big blinds, close to effective. They're really going to be looking to reshove a lot, and when you do limp a lot on the button or want to implement a limping strategy, it's good to have some ace-high trap hands in there. Try to get them to just shove it in, have some good traps, and ace-10 was certainly laying the trap there.
Well, just to remind our viewers, heads up is down between Car AK and the Supreme One. The Supreme One, of course, is Abhijit Kumar, and Car AK is Aman Kumar Sharma. Both these players playing for that top prize of 15 lakhs, 15.59 lakhs, in fact. So a lot of, and let's not forget points on that FTS leaderboard, which will net the winner an additional 10 lakh rupees. So,
and the Supreme One is on the, I think you mentioned
he is. He's in the middle of the earlier. Yeah. He's on the middle of the counts in the leaderboard.
Nice.
So this should, depending on where he finishes, of course, that should get him a few more points to go up the ladder there as well. Jacks up for Car AK or Car AK.
Full house, right on the flop. The old Jackson 5. It's going to be pretty tough to get any action here, but Supreme One getting after it again. We could see another bluff attempt here, trying to get Car AK off of an ace-high hand.
It's going to have to be a big one as well, at least.
Yeah, I think he'll have to put in a substantial bet to get him off. Yes, I did just say that, but I did not mean exactly that. So, all right, back to the poker action now from the Brazzers Network.
I'm not sure what that reference is, but if you'd like to...
I think we'll just move on. Just skate by.
Well, Supreme One went for the bluff there, as we suspected he might. Betting 80% pot, and of course, facing the jam from the flop full house. So now we have pretty even chip stacks.
It's been pretty even for the majority of this heads up, if I'm not wrong. The chip stacks have just been moving up and down, but they're there and thereabouts.
Yeah. Momentum seems to be sort of shifting with Karake, but yeah.
Yeah, I think, Sam, like you mentioned in the past, all it takes is one hand for these things to sort of... And well, here you go with the full house.
And he goes for the overbet. Probably would have got paid with the ace high.
Yeah.
Almost any other bet.
A bit less, and I think he would get the call from ace high. It's slightly too greedy.
Yeah, I'm not the biggest fan of overbetting rivers. I guess it's opponent specific, but when I have a good hand, I just like to get paid. Those river bets matter. They matter quite a bit because the pot's bloated by the time you do get to the river. That one, of course, wasn't as big, but I don't think you need to just go for it so hard there. Any smaller bet would have got called by ace high.
Yeah, just trying to mix up his play a little bit, I think. But hey, like we've mentioned in the past, it's easy for us here in the commentary booth to see these cards face up and, tell you that such and such way is the way to have played it. But these players, they've grinded their way all the way through to this final table. So they've obviously done something right.
Well, I think we should probably see a double barrel here, turning the open ender with Queen Jack. Put a lot of pressure on a deuce that just check called out of position, or even potentially a 10 or any gut shots. So K double barreling there with the queen high, getting the bottom pair to fold. Getting a little more pressure here on the supreme one, getting down to 15 big blind territory.
Yeah, I think this is the first time in this heads up that AK has taken a little more of a substantial lead, I should say. It's not much, but it's more than even he has in this heads up.
Yeah, it certainly helps when you just flop a full house heads up with Jack 5 and have your opponent bluff it off to you. Makes life pretty easy. And yeah, Supreme One's just had some bad timing in this heads up match right now. So let's see if he can turn it around.
Ooh. Boy.
I think he's going to get hero proof here as well.
Yeah. It'll be interesting what he decides to put out. Yeah, about 60% of the pot.
Wouldn't quite call it a hero pool. I mean, it's
a tough spot with second pair. Yeah, I don't think I can blame him for calling. It's always tough on the river, those spots. But yeah, Supreme One taking another hit here. Now down to like about 12 bigs, 13 bigs.
Yeah, this is like a proper almost 3-1 lead here. Well, a quick reminder of our contest question. How do you arrange 4 nines to equal to 100? There are some people who are answering the previous contest question. Sorry, out of luck, we've already announced the winners for contest number 1, but there's still time for you to get in on the action and maybe win a ticket into this FTS series. How do you arrange 4 nines to make 100? Get your answers in there. Some of you all have answered 100. That's not the answer we're looking for. So there's still time. Get your answers in with your Spartan Poker ID, of course.
And the insta shove with the Jack 8 off for 10 bigs. So Supreme One definitely getting in there. Is not going to be right in the short stack for very long. Taking a much more aggressive approach to this heads up match than AK.
Yeah, no choice really.
Yeah, AK has been playing pretty snug and been limping a fair amount. I kind of like this strategy heads up. So, like Supreme One has definitely shown that they're going to be out of line. So AK has been just playing a very tight approach, adapting to their opponent pretty well. Turning a pair here. I think I'd like to see a bet here just for a little protection. And we see a full pot size bet. That'll be enough to get it done.
I feel like this is the one.
And for our viewers, if you're looking at the Supreme One, he's got a little symbol next to his username that denotes that he's won an FTS title in fact, in this edition, I believe. And that's the reason why he's got that. And should AK go on to win this title, then he too will get a similar badge, which he can flaunt while he's playing at tables at Spartan Poker.
Yeah, Car AK again limping here with the connecting hands. I like these limps. Just controlling the size of the pot against a shallow stack. And he did it last time with the 5-4. This time with the 8-9. Min bets the ace high board, knowing that Supreme One would have jammed many ace high and king high hands pre-flop. So pretty easy. We do see here a shove and a call. King 8 suited, good enough.
Wow.
Take it down.
Well, we saw a lot of
Nice.
garbage hands between these two players, and eventually they both found a hand that they thought was good enough to get it in with. And unfortunately for the Supreme One, not so supreme in heads up. And that means that Car AK, that's Aman Kumar Sharma, is the winner of this final table at the big game. Congratulations to Aman for the victory, and well played to the Supreme One for finishing in second place. Aman will take home 15.59 lakh rupees for his first place finish, and 9.9 lakhs will go the way of Abhijit Kumar playing as the Supreme One. We have one hand that we're going to look at, which is the hand of the day. And let's take a look at, in fact, this was very early on where we had almost a full table.
Rumor has it that 3 badge represents Supreme One's position on the leaderboard, but I don't know if that's...
Is it? I thought it was FTS 3.0.
That's what I thought, yeah, but yeah.
Well, he certainly got a few more points there, but in this hand, of course, with the ace-jack, bumping it up to the raise from Kavipri, pre-flop.
Oh, this is that hand.
Oh, yeah. I mistook the hand that we were playing here.
Yeah, this is the hand where Capri V flops a set, checks it back, turns an ace, bet raise, river ace.
You have to forgive us. It's not like that blazingly fast final table with just about 45 hands that we saw a couple of nights ago. And there were a few more in this one. But yeah, a set of sixes for Kavipri on that flop.
Yeah, it just goes to show, like, when you have a hammer lock on a hand and you don't need protection, checking and allowing your opponent to catch up is a pretty strong play, because that's exactly what happens here. He checks back the middle set when he's basically up nearly 100% to win the hands. I mean, he's only losing to runner, straight, and diamond draws, and allows his opponent to turn the ace. Now they're drawing dead and calling a raise out of position when they're drawing dead. So slow playing when you have just hammer locks on hands. And this is a thing I'd like to see a little bit more out of in the final tables here. Because we had a king high flush earlier at the final table, and I would have liked to see them check that. We've had some sets, some full houses, and Capri V, not Capri V, our champion, flopped a full house with Jack 5 in the heads up, and then just slow played it and was able to win a critical pot in heads up as well. So really, when you have the hammer lock on the hand, just check, allow your opponent to catch up, and then you reap the rewards of their bluffs, basically.
There you go. And as Kevin McPhee has so eloquently put that, and my non-verbal signage with that, that's exactly what it is. Give your opponents enough rope and they might just go and hang themselves. And that'll win you the title. And in this case, Aman Kumar Sharma, that's Car AK, winning the title at the FTS big game event. And excellent play by all of these players to get to this final table. And I believe we are unable to connect with our winner for that call, but it's been a fun ride at this final table thus far. Any moments that, I'm sure that one hand with the 7-3, gentlemen, that was certainly something, Sam, that took all of us by surprise.
Yeah, well, I mean, when you said the contest question about how do you take 4 nines and turn it into 100, I was going to say, how do you take 7-4 and turn it into a massive chip lead going heads up? But yeah, I mean, like we mentioned during the hand, you know, I don't, I respect the play, to be honest. You know, applying the pressure, it just so happens that in that spot he ran head on into the suited ace king, and I mean, got lucky. If you know, to spike the 4. But yeah, there's been a few unconventional things. I mean, from when the final table started, we thought, there are a couple of players that were, trying to sort of take the lead and open pots, but nothing sort of out of line. And then once you hit past the witching hour, once it's gone past 60 minutes, things sort of seem to it's like there's something in the air. And yeah, I think it goes to show, in these big these high rollers, it's nice to be able to see a table that lasts a bit longer, so you can see the different moves and how players have got there, and how different players have different styles, some conventional, some not so conventional, and any style can win.
Well, there you have it, folks. Any style can win, and poker, being as nuanced as it is, a game which we all love, of course, throws up these unconventional hands from time to time. We did get to see a much more extended play this time around, and we're glad to have been a part of that whole thing. It's time for us to say goodbye. I'd like to thank our commentators, Richard Haridasoam, Kevin McPhee, and of course, Sam Razavi for joining me this evening at this FTS big game. Remember, you can be a part of the FTS 3.0 as well by taking part in the Feast tournament. That's got a buy-in of just 2,200 rupees. There are daily flights happening at 4 p.m. all week long, so make sure that you get into the action. Or of course, you can also answer our contest questions, and that could get you a ticket into the day's flight as well. So from all of us here at the production team and myself, Peter Abraham, thank you so much for joining us. We'll see you tomorrow evening for yet another riveting final table from this FTS 3.0. Till then, it's goodbye.